What's up? Another episode of You Want It, You Got It podcast. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Jesse from the band Last Ditch Effort. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? Holy crap. That intro got me hyped.
Yeah, it should, because this is just gonna be mellow, No.
I saw that Niner logo and I was like, go!
Yep. As I got my Giants, my Niners, and my Warriors back here.
Right, represent.
They're always a piece of my podcast.
408, let's go.
So that intro was actually done by my band. So
Sick.
Might as well use what you got for free.
That's, that I keep telling some of the guys that I work with in the industry, and I'm like, you know what, punk rock, it has a little bit of piracy to it,
Mm-hmm.
There's a history of, taking flyers and pictures and repurposing them for what we want them to say, right?
Yep.
So.
I missed the old days of the old punk rock flyers, cutting up shit out of newspapers and magazines to make a flyer,
Yeah.
For the show that you would be promoting that evening,
Yeah. We're gonna hold a show somewhere on this street. Find us.
Yeah.
Follow the music, right?
I was talking about this recently, man, about back in the day, going to high school, we had house parties and all this kind of stuff. And man, I work with a younger generation, and I don't ever hear about like house parties. Like we used to have house parties, it's just like, is that like a thing in the past now or what,
Man, yeah, like San Jose is wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the 10th largest city in America, but it's so fucking expensive to live here that it's like you got these old pocket neighborhoods and tech bros, and the tech bros ain't gonna throw a punk rock show in their living room.
No.
So every once in a while something pops up and it's like, hey, come down to like 442nd Street and see what's popping. So, but yeah, no, we used to have house party shows every weekend. Just whose turn is it to host this weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean, hell, we had one when I was I guess I was right when I graduated, but still, that scene, it bounced from two different houses because the cops got called in the first house. So somebody was like, yo, my folks are out of town. Let's pick up and move to my house. So we did that. And it was cool because the party just kept going, it was fun.
Yeah, that's what's up. I am stoked on like San Francisco seems to still be doing it, right? They got the skate park out at like, I think it's called 4th and Army. And literally like after dark, they just run a couple extension cords real quick, set up on top of the half pipe and just rock out. So
you remember during COVID, they had those COVID shows like in LA and Oakland that were just like guerrilla style. They just showed up with a generator underneath underpasses and just that was pretty dope,
Totally. Played a few basketball court shows in my day, and oh shit, the cops are coming, and you gotta run to another basketball court somewhere else, right?
Have you ever played on the back of a flatbed truck?
Dude, that's so funny that you mentioned that. We had a coming out show for one of my bands, and it was we literally pulled up a flatbed trailer in front of these businesses that were like, yeah, you guys can throw whatever. What is this, a get together? Show up with the trailer, load the equipment on, plug in, and just start raging out in the parking lot. Super fun.
How long's your band been around? Last Ditch Effort.
So yeah, Last Ditch Effort started as kind of an interesting project during COVID that you mentioned. I grew up as a drummer. I've been in bands since I was in middle school, just always playing drums. And during COVID, I felt like, if you're ever going to learn to do something else with music, now's the time, right? Everybody's locked down. Nobody's got anything else to do. So, let's go. And so I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on like real simple music theory, just trying to figure out what the hell was going on and how to write songs. And so I started writing songs. and I must have put out like 60 just awful songs. And I always give a shout out to my wife and my buddies, my really good buddies, for like listening to my awful first 5 dozen or so songs. And towards the end of COVID, things started to sound a little bit more like I had been envisioning. And so I hit up my boy Pat, who's our drummer. He had been a guitar player. He was a guitar player his whole life, and he was playing guitar in the last band I was in. So I was like, "Hey, man, I got these songs we wrote over COVID. Any, you want to do something?" And he listened to him, and he's like, "Yeah. These are pretty cool. Like, takes me back that like late '90s, early 2000s punk scene." And I was like, "Cool. Well, I'm playing guitar and singing for the first time ever. Do you want to do something else other than guitar?" And he's like, "I want to be a fucking drummer." And I was like, "Perfect, let's go." So we had like a couple practices. He's been super helpful with like teaching me like the way that the guitar parts go together sometimes and whatnot. And then it just kind of took off. Hit up Craigslist, threw the tracks on there. Sean hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, what song or what bands you into?" And I was like, Propaganda, Bad Religion, all these bands. And he's like, "I have to be in your band." And I was like, "Okay, sweet." And so Diogo hit me up from Craigslist, and he had just moved here a couple years ago from Brazil. And this was the funniest shit. Like, he's like, "I want to play punk rock." And I was like, "Sweet. Have you been in any bands?" And he sends me these YouTube videos of his last band, and it's like Brazil salsa dance music. I'm like, "It's punk rock, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I want to be in punk rock." And I was like, "All right." So he showed up. Dude is a monster on bass. So yeah, towards the end of COVID, we just kind of coalesced, and we found a really cool guy, Ryan, at District Recording, local guy. I believe the studio before him and his partner bought it out was owned by the guy that had started Asian Man Records. I don't know.
Oh
if you
yeah,
remember,
okay.
like
Yep.
Skank and Pickle and those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dope. Like, we went in, he's super like affordable, like his workflow is awesome, and we knocked out a 5-song EP. That was the American Scheme EP, our first shit, like 2.5-3 years ago. And ever since then, just been building, trying to get better. And yeah, big, like, huge appreciation to you for reaching out and wanting to talk about it. It's kind of crazy still. So
Hell yeah, man. I like, I've been getting a lot of love the past few weeks from the punk community, and I've been just wanting to talk to everybody, So respect
nice.
to that.
Wow.
Does Mike Park still own? I mean, does he still have Asian Man record in San Jose in his mom's garage?
Man, that's I don't know. I haven't heard of him putting out anything or any like news from that recently, but he was there a few times. I know what was the name of the band? They had a decently sized band come through, and Chris too from the band that shall not be named right now was there recording with those guys. So that was pretty cool. So obviously there was some ties up to a couple years ago when we were kind of first starting out, but yeah, I don't know. That'd be I need to look into that for sure.
I know he posts like YouTube Instagram reels or TikTok reels of him replying back to the customers that will write him a letter and like talk shit to him. And he's like, "Look, I'm only one fucking dude. Like, you know what? Here's your money. Don't fucking ever come back. I don't need your business." It's just like,
yeah. I mean, come on, bro. Like, I mean, yeah. It's all these. It's I hate to sound like a fucking boomer, but we used to buy CDs after hearing one song, right? And like, hopefully the other 11, 12 tracks were good, and if not, you're out $20.
Yeah,
right.
But you still seem to find a way to enjoy that album, even though you spent that 20.
Yeah, like,
you're like,
I think like Stockholm Syndrome kicked in or something.
Yeah.
You're like, I love this album.
It happens, this gets talked about a lot on this podcast where, because of the age bracket. But back in the day, you didn't have all you had was MTV. You didn't have a way to listen to everything on that band. So you're like, all you knew was that song. And if you couldn't find the single, you're going to buy that whole album. And hopefully it's as good as that single was,
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, you like my first CD I bought was Unknown Road by Pennywise
Oh, nice. Good
because
one.
I had played I don't know if you remember back in the day they had the like Top Skater game where you
Mhm.
like stand on the skateboard
Yeah.
and Homesick was one of the tracks on that game and I was like, "Ooh, this is sick." And so I went and bought that album and that's like Homesick's a dope song, but there's some bangers on that record like and so that just kind of kicked it off for me. I was like, who's this Pennywise band? And then what is it? What? Oh, they played with this other band, No Effects. Who are these guys? And then they have a record label. And like, what is this Punkorama? This is fucking awesome. Like, dude, I bought all the Punkoramas, all the like fat music for fat peoples. It was just compilation time.
Wasn't
My
that
mom.
soundtrack all Pennywise, right? You said that soundtrack was all Pennywise for that first Top Skater, I believe.
It might have been.
Yeah.
I my memory's not that good.
Yeah.
There's a few years of illicit partying in between.
Yeah.
But,
the skate game that I remember growing up as a kid was I would only be able to play it at Santa Cruz at the boardwalk. They had the big arcade there, but they had a game called 720.
oh, dude, yeah.
And it was like the OG skate game,
Right?
I think like that came out right at the same time as like Skate or Die. But yeah, 720 was my first arcade remembrance of playing a game.
Dude, that's
game,
sick. That's the one with the roller ball, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then you also had and then before any of those games existed, the only time you had a way to do skateboarding was at a half pipe on California Games.
That's right.
Yeah.
That game was hard as shit.
The hacky sack, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Pennywise being you said your first CD you bought, what era of your childhood did you discover punk rock?
So that would have been like what, middle school, coming out of middle school. Yeah, I just, as a drummer, I really, really like my dad played bass his whole life. He was in local band through like the San Jose Milpitas area back in like the 70s, 80s. And the stories that he tells about their shows, I don't know if you ever remember like hearing about Tully Road Stables, but they used to put on crazy shows, like 10, 12 keg shows, right?
Oh, nice.
They would run down El Camino, like when the red lights would go, and they just hand out flyers to all the cars up and down because everybody cruised back then, right?
Yep.
So he wanted a built-in jam buddy. So in middle school, I'm like, I want to play drums. And he's like, yes, you're going to play drums. And so we bought my first drum kit. And, he taught me all the classics. I was listening to, Zepp and AC/DC and just stuff that, he had played. And then I got really into Metallica for a minute. My cousin had an old like 1991 Civic hatchback with these two Rockford Fosgate 15s in the hatch.
Nice.
And we would just drive around listening to the And Justice for All tape on like full blast, just can't see anything. But I was just like, fuck, dude, metal, like heavy, fast, angry music is what speaks to me. And then I found Pennywise and that whole like Epitaph, Fat Records, Hellcat Records scene. And it was just like, every song is like this. This is what I need in my life. And then like listening to the message, it was cool. I didn't grow up, I didn't have, as hard of a life as other people growing up, but we had our shit and listening to, other people go through it and being like, okay, other people go through shit. I'm not alone. This is cool. And so I really started to want to, I started playing drums to more like punk albums and things like that. Just heavy, fast, angry music. Got in a few, punk bands and played around and stuff like that. So yeah, that's really what kicked it off for me was just, being in middle school, early high school and being a drummer. I think if you're playing drums, you're kind of predisposed to wanting to play loud and fast and as heavy as possible, right? Unless you're into jazz, that's cool. But It's not my scene.
With you being a drummer, and I know this is like in every scene, is drummers hard to come by even out that way?
Dude, impossible. Like when Pat told me he wanted to play drums instead of guitar, I was like, yes, this is it's gonna work. We got a drummer. That's all you need, right? Like if you get a drummer, you got a band. That's
Oh yeah,
all like that's all you need. Like guitar players can play bass, guitar players can play guitar, whatever. But
yeah.
if you can get a drummer, you're set. And it was really cool that he wanted to do it. And he's super good. Like I always joke with people like our best guitar player in the band is our drummer. So yeah.
Too, in with you not being a drummer anymore, you have less items you have to bring to shows now, right?
Well, kinda.
Or do you guys use your drum set?
Yeah, we use my drum set.
Okay,
so
okay.
Not only do I have to bring the amps and the guitars, I also got to bring the drums. So, but it's cool. Like we've all been in bands before. We know the deal. It's everybody in, everybody out type of deal. Load in's a breeze. So
when I started singing, I pulled the singer card for a few shows just because for like 20 years I never got to do it. Because I played bass, so I'm always hauling my gear around, helping the drummer out. But I never got to pull the singer card. So the first couple of shows I pulled the singer card, and then I was like, all right.
You're like, time to load in.
Yeah. Yeah. As I'm just I don't even have to worry about the mic. I just have a beer in my hand, because
Oh, that's awesome. I know I keep saying like I'm gonna find another guitar player because I play like rhythm while singing. Okay. I'm like, I want to find another guitar player so I can just bring a microphone. But I'm too awkward to not have like something in my hands and just sing. I'm like, what are you supposed to do? Just play with the mic stand?
Yeah, yeah. That's when I found out I was out of shape because I was like, oh, I can just stay up here running around all day, bouncing around. But yeah, running around and jumping and singing, that's taking so much more out of you. It's like pick one.
Dude, seriously. You know who the most in shape musicians are ska singers.
Oh,
those
yeah.
Dudes. Oh my God. Like they don't stop jumping the whole fucking show. It's just watching a live ska band is insane.
You can't be in a ska band and not move,
right?
It's kind of like, look at the Boss Tones, like the skanking guy. He was also their tour manager, but all he had to do was just sit there and dance the whole show,
He was like, all right, we got an hour and a half set tonight. Get your Wheaties, right?
Yeah. So growing up in San Jose, how was the music scene as a kid?
San Jose was dope, man. We had San Jose is known for Metallica. They came out of here. So they kind of they pushed the scene forward. We had like Exodus. We had San Jose was a pretty big like metal town. It was the East Bay and the North Bay, like Petaluma, Berkeley. I mean, that's where the punk rock scene was. We used to go to 924 Gilman. We used to go to the Phoenix. We used to go it's like the Pound, bottom of the hill. I was watching AFI for like $10 back in the day, and those dudes, man, like you want to talk about a live show. Davey Havoc is like the fucking king.
Still today. He has that,
dude. He's on top of the crowd, just screaming his ass off, and love that shit. Yeah, we got. I mean, Berkeley. We had Green Day. We had out of the East Bay. We had Rancid. I mean, the Bay Area was huge for punk in the 90s and 2000s. Everywhere you just see flyers everywhere. We had this new and used music store called the Starving Musician. There was one in Santa Cruz, one in San Jose, and they would just have the whole door, every wall was just flyers. I mean, you could go any night of the week and just go to any kind of show, and usually they were huge. Like the Subhumans played all the time, and like all these really cool old school punk bands. So
that is true, man, about the Bay. I mean, you think about even the 60s and 70s, how much music came out of there in the 60s and 70s, and the 80s, and then the 90s with the punk and the Bay Area hip hop. and
Oh,
then and
yeah.
then you just keep going. It's insane. But
Oh man, we got E40, we got Hyro. Yeah, man.
yep.
Just the Bay is a thing, man. It's its own little microcosm, right? Like the South Bay and the North Bay are different enough, but everybody just is like, "Hey, where you from?" Right? It's like, "What's your area code?" It's like
Hmm.
408. Oh, okay, San Jose. San Jose's dope.
Yep.
So yeah, some
I
parts of the East Bay are like,
yeah. It's
no, no hate, Hayward, no hate.
I always say that, if you're a hip hop artist in the Bay Area, you made it, because if you make it big in the Bay, you don't have to worry about anywhere else, because you got that whole community that you can
Dude.
survive off of.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
Oh man, yeah.
concerts are always hype.
Yeah. Hip hop was crazy too. Like everybody gives LA, Compton, the flowers for hip hop, but man, the Bay was rocking.
Did you ever remember a place in Oakland called Shark Bite?
Oh man, that sounds stupid. That's like repressed memory. What
It's like
remind me about that spot?
it's basically like a practice hall in Oakland, where
Okay.
like bands like Machine Head and would go, and they have a room there where they would practice for, rehearse for tour. Or
Yeah.
it's a recording studio as well.
Oh,
Um,
sick. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's like you said that name and it was like, I
yeah,
know that name.
yeah. A buddy of mine found his biological father a couple years ago, and now he lives in Florida. My buddy does, but come to
uh,
find out, his father owned Shark Bite before he sold it last year.
oh,
But
that's crazy.
he had owned it for I guess over 30 years. But it was just, he was like, man, you and my dad need to get together and talk about all the cool people that have been there, because that place can tell some stories.
Oh man, yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
killer episode.
Um.
Yeah, that's
So
all these weird little practice spots all over the place.
hmm. And where I live, we don't have like they do in bigger cities. Like they have it in Nashville, but like where bands can rent out like storage spaces and then practice in
Mhm.
there. Like where I'm at here in Clarksville, which we're the fifth largest city in Tennessee, and we keep getting bigger because it's a military and college town. But we don't have like a storage unit that would be like, all right, cool, with bands rehearsing there, because that's like
Yeah.
the cheap. Nobody can find places to practice.
Oh damn. There's your that's your in, man.
Yeah, right.
There's your Shark Tank, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking for 50%.
Yep. Um, so
Yeah.
this new album you guys have,
Yeah.
2025.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
I can only tell what it's about. Um, how long have y'all been working on?
It's
It's
about
about
love and peace and
and
Molotov cocktails.
oh, yeah, that's what I
You
got out of
know,
it.
this album's really interesting. A
Because
lot
let
of
me ask
the
you real quick before we start. Are
yeah,
I noticed how you said Bad Religion Propaganda, and then they're political and whatever whatnot. Are you guys
yeah.
would you guys consider yourself a political band or just a punk rock band?
Dude, I'm an American historian. I went and got my master's degree in
Oh
U.S.
shit.
history, and that's my day job is being a teacher and a professor. And the songs, to be honest, they write themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, this country has a history of just awful, awful things,
Yeah.
and when I sit down and I get an idea or a theme or something in my mind, I've got so much to pull from just
Yeah, I
from,
gotcha.
studying history and politics through the ages. And so this album, you kind of saw the writing on the wall, and we were getting Trumpageddon 2.0, and I just knew it was coming, and the songs just kind of started to write themselves. I had read the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, and it's just literal nightmare shit. Like, and so that kind of sparked this idea. A couple of the songs, the music for the songs, I had written couple years ago, and I had other lyrics that I loved the music, but the lyrics never really like meant enough for me to release the songs. And my process is always just blank white paper and a Sharpie,
Yep.
and it's literally just like shit just started flying out. And I really wanted to, with this new album, to push my comfort zone with singing. As a drummer, growing up as a drummer, everything with music was always very like rhythmic, right? And I wanted to be able to step out of the real like 4/4 6/8 rhythm of a song and sing around the rhythm. So I worked pretty hard coming up with like some different kind of like melodies and things for the words that were just kind of meaning so much at the time. And I think I did pretty well. I'm really proud of it, and it's very political. The first three songs are overtly political. The last song you can take as a political. I wrote that last song, "Hold On," in the wake of my mom passing away, and but it really speaks to anybody that's lost people to abuse, addiction, incarceration, you know, extrajudicial murder. Like anybody can listen to the song that has felt that loss and connect with that one. So that one's real close to my heart. The other three are just me being really pissed off at the current status of the country and the political landscape. So I don't know, when I get a knock on the door and the brown shirts show up, they're like, "We listened to your album." And it's like, oh.
You were saying about going and doing history and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went to school predominantly in California with 3 years. I went to school in Germany.
Oh shit.
Before most part I was in California. It's like I remember learning like in middle school and in high school, like I learned a lot about the California history more than like what's out here. And when I moved out to the South, because I live in Tennessee, so the history that's out here was stuff that I had really no idea about, So it was like I'm still learning about what went on out here like daily. It's crazy, but it's
dude,
they got a lot of crazy ass history out here, that's for sure.
dude, the South is nuts. Like,
Uh-huh.
I grew up, my grandpa's whole side of the family is from North Carolina. They
Yeah.
ancestors that fought on the wrong side. But it's wild, man. We went out there every few summers, and listening to them like still refer to the Civil War as like the war of northern aggression, and like the whole lost cause propaganda of states' rights and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, hold your tongue. This is not the place to get into a fight. There's a lot more of them than there are of you. So man, it's wild. Like this ideological split in the United States, it's deep, and it's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
I as a student of history, I got really into like gender and race, and just how those themes really affect the way that the country has moved through the ages and everything. And now like class. I'm a huge advocate for like unionship and the working class and everything. It's like as a teacher, they're like, you're kind of working class adjacent, but I grew up in super blue collar household, so I know what it's like to swing hammers and
Yeah.
lay pipes. um But yeah, no, it's all, it's them versus us, right? They've sold it so well of left versus right, but we gotta crawl out of that. We gotta get, understand that people are pissed off for different reasons that have been told to them, and we
Yeah.
gotta We really got to like get that message of like we're pissed off, but we're pissed off about these guys now,
Yeah.
not this whole right left, bullshit that has been propagated into us for, I mean, really since Nixon, if not before. But so
I will say, during certain eras of presidency, we do get some good music. So
yeah. Oh, dude,
yeah,
the Rock Against Bush
yeah.
EPs were so sick.
Even I mean, look, think how much crazy shit came out during the Reagan era. You know how much punk rock came out during that time.
Oh man, dude, the
Um,
Reagan punk era was nuts. Oh my god, that was, whew,
right.
that's when it was like punk was violent, man. That
Mm-hmm.
was
Well,
crazy.
you think about it too, though. Back in the '80s, though, East Coast punk compared to West Coast punk were two different types of punks at the show. Like you had like your happy punks here, but then
Yeah.
let's say for LA you had the happy, and um, Oakland and San Francisco could get the Dead Kennedys and they were all pissed off and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, but all these punks, and then they all came together, and then they were like, holy fuck, we're all different, but we're all still
Yeah.
punk.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Just
Yeah, the
that
'90s stuff was cool. There's a lot of cool stuff that came out during the '90s for like the Bush stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's my favorite just because that was what I grew up in. Like
For sure.
it'll always have that special place, like fucking Lagwagon and Millencolin. Like there was political edge to their stuff, but they were just singing about life and stuff, and it just really it resonated. But as I grew older and started to backtrack through the catalogs and started to hear the real like Black Flag and the all that kind of real angry stuff, it was awesome. So
There's a lot of great stuff out there, and I always say this on every podcast. People always say, man, there's nothing good out. There's nothing new that's good. I'm like, there's so much stuff that's not even saying new, but there's so much stuff that you will find and discover that's from like this, 80s or that's new, that'll be new to you. There's always new music to be found, man.
There is new music, but there's so many heavy hitters even today. Like, dude, No Trigger is sick as fuck.
Yep.
Fuck it, who else? Like, Hit the Switch. Those dudes, I'm surprised those dudes aren't like headlining tours everywhere. Like their musicianship, their lyrics, the way that they compose songs, it is so sick. It's just I don't know, man. Like I feel like punk is that genre that is never going to get bigger, but never going to get smaller, right? It fits in that nice little bell curve. Like the '90s, it was huge because every one of the the teen movies wanted some punk rock song, but then after that it moved to, what was that, like the boy band era right after that.
Exactly, right after that, the boy band new metal era,
Yeah. Oh, new metal. Oh, fuck, dude. I can't believe Limp Bizkit is touring again. That shit is hilarious to me.
They're headlining festivals.
You see Fred Durst and his fucking old ass like Jerry curl shit.
Yeah. Dude, he has like a different gimmick for every tour. I think like the new one he was wearing like a snow ski suit, like an 80s style one with like a headband and some goggles, and that was his gimmick on stage.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. People like with music, it's such a cathartic experience. Like you find that song. I got a playlist on my streaming that's like, it's just called Jams. And it's so manic. It's got bluegrass, it's got hip hop, it's got metal, it's got deathcore, it's got everything. But every song that's in that playlist is something that I was listening to, and it just hit that like emotional center, and I was like, "Yep, safe." Right? Like good music is good music. You
nailed it, bro.
Genres, right?
I say it to everybody all the time. Even when I was younger, I wish I would have thought about it that way. But it wasn't until I got older when I was like being stubborn and be like, oh no, they don't look like this, or they don't. No, I don't like them. But good music is fucking good music, man. Would you say that playlist best defines you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like my buddies are like, "Hey, what are you listening to these days?" I'm like, "I don't know. Go on that playlist I sent you and look at the play from the last song that you remember hearing down." And like that's what I've been listening to these days. So, yeah. I mean, I always as a, I hate to keep saying like as a drummer, but
Yeah.
as somebody that grew up playing drums, rhythm and like heavy rhythms was what really drew me into it. And I fell pretty hard into that like metalcore scene of the like mid
Yeah.
2000s, just because that double kick came back huge. And man, that was a lot of fun. I was playing drums for a metalcore band that we did some cool stuff. We played Warped Tour. We won the I moved up to Idaho for a hot minute, and we won the like Idaho State Battle of the Bands and got
Oh,
to play
nice.
like their. You remember like BFD, like Live 105's BFD, like whatever the local like alternative radio station. They always
Okay.
have like a festival, like a one
Yeah.
day festival thing. Yeah, we got to play that. We played with MXPX, Presidents of the United States, and Vendetta Red.
Oh,
It
wow.
was hilarious. Yeah. Oh man, I almost crapped my pants that day. You look out from backstage, and there's like 30,000 people, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of fucking people.
How many was it before that show?
How many was what?
How many people did you play in front of before that show?
Oh, that band was pretty popular.
Yeah.
We took over Boise. So every band that came through of that kind of era, we played support for. And then we decided to move to LA and give it a shot there. And we did some neat stuff down in LA. Headlined, like the whiskey and the Viper and all those things. And it's just LA is like, in Boise we were like the huge fish in
Mm-hmm.
the small pond, right?
Yep.
Like we had all the gravitas. And then we moved to LA and we're just like another band, right? Even though we were pretty good and we did some fun stuff, it just was never the same. And then I left that band, and they moved up to Seattle, and Seattle was a much better fit for them. It was like bigger than Boise, but not as like saturated as LA. And I guess Seattle has a pretty sweet local scene with like El Corazon and stuff up there. So they did some cool stuff up in Seattle after I left, and that's when I went back to school and did the whole college thing here in San Jose. So
And you obviously went to school to get for his history.
yeah.
Growing up as as a young Jesse, was Jesse always were you always into history?
Bro, yeah, like fifth grade was monumental. I had a fifth grade teacher that was a huge Civil War history buff. And so she would like rush through math and English just to get to like the history lessons. And then we would when we got to like the Civil War, she would take us all out to like the soccer field and have us like march around
Oh,
in
cool.
like units and things. She had this wooden cannon that she had built. She had taught us like how they would have loaded cannons and things.
Wow.
And then there's an old Civil War fort under one side of the Golden Gate Bridge called
Mm-hmm.
Fort Point. And we went and did a field trip overnight to Fort Point, and
Wow.
like had to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and stand guard in the fog of San Francisco
Oh,
and all this
shit.
shit. Dude, it was so epic. And I knew like right then that the Civil War and history were it was my jam. And I wish I could she was pretty old back then, so I'm sure she's passed on, but it'd be so interesting to just talk to her one more time and be like, look at what I did.
Yeah.
And then I just, I always was kind of interested in history. But until I went back to school, it had just been kind of a hobby. And I did Civil War reenactments
Oh,
through
wow.
my like teens and early 20s. That was a lot of fun. I always tell people, people are like, what is that like? I'm like, well, you go camping for like 3 days and then 3 times a day you march out and shoot at each other, and then go back to camp. But it's cool. It's like a bunch of people that love history, just hanging out, talking shit, and drinking whiskey around a campfire. So,
I mean, that's what they used to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. History is really important to me. I really, really, really like what I do. I teach high school right now.
Okay.
I'm working towards getting a professorship at one of the local community colleges. And yeah, I'm super lucky that my school that I work at has seen me as a real asset. They give me all of the honors and all of the AP advanced placement classes. So
Oh,
I get
nice.
to, I get to teach some pretty hefty stuff, and the
Yeah.
kids are into it. They're all like college track themselves, so they're there to do it, and I'm super lucky because there's not a lot of teachers that get that kind of experience.
Is this the same high school you went to by chance?
No.
Okay.
I went to high school in San Jose, in Boise, and then in Livermore.
Okay.
So yeah.
My sister lives in Livermore, actually.
Oh, nice one. That's a
Yeah.
cool little town. That's a
Yeah.
weird town, man.
Yeah.
We had two bands that had a ton of like energy going out of Livermore. One of them was called The Program, and their singer, Little Jesse, he is like one of the best frontmen I ever saw, and just this little ball of energy. And he's just flying around the stage screaming his ass off, and I was like, these guys are gonna do it. Like they have the right attitude, and they got signed to something, and then it all just kind of fell apart from there. I don't know. Music's weird.
Isn't the story so far from up around that area?
Yeah. They're from like Danville or Walnut
Mhm.
Creek. They're like a little bit above Livermore. Those guys are killer. I had kind of moved out of that area before that, so I never kind of got that local experience. I've seen them at
Gotcha.
a couple like local shows, but not when they were first starting out.
Yeah,
But
it's like Nashville. Like there's a bunch of bands that have popped off out of Nashville, like hardcore
mm,
wise, But I wasn't around when they were coming up. I didn't see them, and then now when they come back to Nashville, it's just like they're
yeah,
huge. It's like,
right.
damn, that's crazy. But it's cool to see, though, man. It's cool to see eyes back on Nashville for
Yeah,
for, for other
no,
than country music.
right. Yeah, Nashville's cool, man. We never made it out there. We never made it to Houston, but I hear those two scenes are really cool and really diverse. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah.
Um,
My closest claim to fame was almost taking the job playing drums for the Ghost Inside when they first
oh,
started.
nice.
I was working with their guitar player Aaron at Guitar Center in Lawndale down in LA, and he's like, "Hey, we got this new project." Because I had been listening to his previous band, and they were like super hardcore metalcore, and he's like, "I got this new project. You want to play drums on it?" And I was like, down there with my band, and I'm like, I can't, leave my band to play for your band, dude. Like, it sounds really cool. I really like the album, and all of a sudden they're like
Uh,
headlining like Japan, and I'm like, ah,
the biggest thing.
damn. But it's
I
cool. Like their new membership rendition is so sick. Their drummer is ridiculous.
Man, in that contraption that his father built for him to
Yeah,
still fucking go ham. And I was
dude,
like,
that's so.
wow.
Yeah, no, that's man.
When
People that make it through adversity and stuff like that. That's
hmm
amazing.
Oh yeah, I tell other people they have no excuse. It's like, wait, this
Yeah,
guy here. It's like I don't drive. You know what I'm saying? I don't drive. So,
yeah.
but I'm always to work on time, and I'm always at work, right? But when I hear people at
Mhm.
work, you're like, man, I can't get to work today. My car's broke down. I'm like, man, I don't even drive, and I'm here every day. You have no excuse to be late to work.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No.
I mean, hell, and then because our transit system here starts at
Mhm.
6 a.m. and runs until 8 p.m. and then that's it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh
So
man,
so
that's
fuck it
rough.
if you get off after 8 or whatnot in the nighttime because you got to either take an Uber or take a taxi.
Right.
And no, you're saying that your biggest claim to fame, that possible opportunity with the Ghost Inside. I got asked to play in that band from the Bay called Lionheart.
Oh,
Before they broke, before they even
yeah.
released their first demo, my buddy was in the band at the time, Earl. He was like,
Mhm.
"Man, we need a bass player. You like, quit playing in your band and come out here." And I was like, "Man, I was so thinking about it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Nah, I'm gonna stay in my band. We're doing it up. We're doing it pretty big right now. We had a good little following." And then our drummer needed emergency surgery, and I'm like,
Man.
"Fuck." And then we were
Ah,
down. We were down for like 3 years after that, and
damn.
then found a new whole lineup, me and my singer. But I'm like,
Okay.
damn, I could have went and fucking played like Japan and fucking all these
Right.
places with fucking Lionheart when they were opening up for Madball and Agnostic Front.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy, man. Those little like forks in the road, like
But
one way or
hey,
the other.
I'm
But
happy. I'm happy
they're
where I'm
all
at.
right. Yeah, they're all lessons. They're all,
Yeah,
like if I would have taken the job and played drums for the Ghost Inside, then I would have had to live through a bus accident, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean,
you
no,
know,
no,
I
not trying to make jokes, but that could have been
no, but
you.
spirit,
You
yeah, right.
know.
Like it's things that happen that, it's it's like, was that Final Destination?
Mhm. Well, it's like Metallica. If uh
Yeah,
if they didn't switch bunks,
right.
Cliff Burton would have still been here, and
Yeah.
Kurt would have been gone. It would have been like, fuck, you never know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, crazy, crazy. I have a
I am a what if guy all the time for some
yeah.
reason. I don't know why I do it because it's stupid, but I'm always like, well, what if?
Hey, no, it's
No, but it's true though.
it is in history we call it like counter history, where if you read enough about something, you can guess pretty well what happens if something changes.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of historians that write these like counterfactual histories that they're really interesting. It's like, what happens if the Europeans show up to the east coast of the United States and there's no Native Americans? Like,
Yeah.
how does that change the experience of the Europeans? And it's basically, oh, they all
True.
died.
Yeah.
So,
It is true. You never know
yeah.
what's. I always tell if I never moved from California to Tennessee, I may have never had the experience that I had of playing music at all, because the only reason why I started playing music, because a buddy of mine, his band had lost their bass player, and I was like, I don't know how to play bass. And they're like, we'll teach you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
bass. And they're like, if you ever get lost, just follow the kick drum. And I'm like, okay,
No,
I can do this.
right.
And then 20 years of my life, I'm playing bass for this band. And
That's sick.
but if I never moved out here when I graduated, who knows what would happen.
I played
So
bass in a band one time. They had they had recordings, they had all this stuff, and they're like, "Come on, come play bass." And I'm like, I'm a drummer, I don't know bass. And they're like, "You ever play Guitar Hero?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What level of Guitar Hero?" I'm like, "Expert." And they're like, "You can play bass."
that's great.
So
Um,
that was fun.
and that's another game that got people turned on to music.
Dude, right? We need another Guitar Hero so bad. Like, we used to get so trashed and play Guitar Hero, so much fun. Somebody was saying like this generation needs a new Guitar Hero so they can struggle through Polyphia the way that we struggled through Dragon Force.
I watched somebody actually about 30 minutes ago before we started talking. This dude was playing the Dragon Force on 200%.
Oh,
And this mother and
Jesus.
he got every single note hit every combo, everything. He's just sitting there like I'm watching him, dude. I'm like, there's
Uh,
only a couple buttons there, but he was going ham on this thing
you
though.
gotta save some talent for the rest of us, man.
Yeah, bro. I'm trying to get that girl. I'm trying to get that girl at the end of the bar myself.
He's all, have you seen this?
It's true though, man. Has any of your students seen you play?
I haven't told them when we play. Dude, that's such a funny story. No, I kind of keep. They know about the band. A couple of them have listened to us on like Spotify and stuff, and they're like, "That's pretty good, Mr. Jesse," and all this stuff. But I don't really tell them when the shows are. It gets a little political on the
Yeah.
microphone between the one of the shows that we played. It was an all ages spot, and I'm like on this rant. And I'm just like, fuck the police and fuck this and fuck that. And I look down and there's this little like 6-year-old kid with a hot dog just like looking up at me like, what's up, kid?
Hey, they're gonna learn one day.
Yeah,
know.
right.
I got that. I got that from David Lee Roth and shit.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and I was young, and he's up there cussing on stage, telling girls to show their titties, and I'm like, 12 years old, like, yeah, but we'll figure it out one day,
Oh man, yeah, it's like how your parents are like, did we make a mistake with that? Like my first ever show that I ever went to was Santana at Shoreline.
Oh, okay, I can imagine.
Yeah, and my dad's boss had boxes, and he gave my dad a couple tickets to go. And he gets home and he's like, "We're going to a show." And I was like, "Okay." I was like 6th grade maybe, and so we go. And Santana, man, like that. I don't know if you've ever seen them live, but it's like 3 hours of just Afro-Cuban rock jam, and it's amazing. Like they do a half-hour drum solo between the 3 drummers, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's that smell? It smells like Christmas. Like, and then like 20 minutes later I'm like, Dad, I need garlic fries for some reason. So it's super funny. And then my second show, he's like, okay, so you went to Santana. We're going to get tickets for this next show coming up. And it was 1996. And it was Metallica and Korn at the Cow Palace. And it was like Korn's first like major touring. Like they were direct support of Metallica. And holy shit, what a show. Just epic shit.
In 96, what was Metallica touring on there?
They had just dropped Load. Yeah. And they only played Ain't My Bitch. That was the only song they played off Load. Everything else was old stuff, and they played for like it had to have been close to 2 hours. I mean, it was nuts.
I saw them at the Cow Palace once where they opened up for themselves.
Oh shit.
And it was during the Black album, so it was in the round and all that shit. But I seen them there the second night. My buddy went the first night, and parts of the video for Wherever I May Roam were shot in SAC and shot in San Francisco, and one of my buddies was in the video because he went to the first night and he was in the video. But
oh man, dude, those guys, we just saw them at Bottle Rock. My wife is like,
I want to go this year.
Every time there's a contest for tickets to anything, she wins them. We've gone to 4 free shows because she won tickets to the shows. It's absolutely insane. I don't know how she does it, but we got tickets to Friday night Bottle Rock last year, and Metallica was there, and their whole thing was like 41 years of Metallica, and they're still fucking out there just rocking, man. James is just, that dude he's a machine.
I don't care what anybody has to say about Metallica, because you got your haters for every band, but I always defend Metallica because this is truth. When I first moved to Germany, I wasn't into anything punk, anything metal, anything hardcore. It was strictly hip hop. Well, then I moved to Germany, and this was probably like 97-ish, 98 maybe. My mom's friend's son brought over 2 records, Injustice for All and Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Nice.
So he puts them on, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking horrible. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I can't listen to this. Yeah. So he takes them off, and we just sit there trying to be, be friends or whatever, because our parents were friends, Yeah. And he's leaving. He takes the records when they're leaving. I was like, hey.
Yeah.
Can you leave those for a sec? And for the whole fucking week, man, I was turned on to metal, and went out and made sure every time I worked that all my money went to metal. And then in 7th grade, I got introduced to punk rock. I got introduced to the Misfits and DI, and I got Black Flag, Descendants, Circle Jerks, like all of them on like a mixtape. And then I got turned on to punk rock, and then I was like, man, I got all this new music in my head. And I was just loving it, man. But no, but Metallica though, what I was gonna say was those dudes, man, that bust their ass. They have never been a small band. They keep getting bigger and bigger with time. And the only thing I see them selling out is every show they play.
Fuck, right?
You know? I mean,
Yeah,
who
like
besides
we want,
Pantera, AC/DC, and the Black Crows, who can say they played in front of over 1 million people in Moscow?
dude, the concert footage from that show is absolutely insane. Like
Yeah.
it's just a sea of people, and they're all so stoked to be there. Like
Yeah,
you
it was
can't even see the stage, and they're
uh-uh.
just stoked to be there, right?
The
Like
people at the very back are hearing the song like it just started, but it ended
yeah,
20 minutes ago, you
right.
know?
Yeah. Oh man, dude, no, they. You know, I have a student that's like obsessed with Metallica. Like she plays guitar,
Oh, nice.
she's like super into them. And so every time we finish class a little early and she gets all her homework done or whatever, we like watch interviews, and she always wants to watch
Cool.
like Metallica interviews and stuff. And you know, they admit it to themselves. Like we wrote some shit that we wish we could go back to.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to play stuff the way you used to because we now look at that as like it's so simple. Why can't we grasp that like simplicity again,
Yeah.
right? Like every time you sit down and you want to write something, your brain's like write something harder, write something more advanced, right? And like they were just fucking jamming those
Yep.
songs,
Yeah.
and it just came out that way, right? Like yeah, it's, you know, like you said, everybody's got haters. You can hate Metallica all you want. That's cool. That's super brave of you, but they
There's this
just, you know.
there's a guy that I interviewed a couple weeks ago. Well, it's probably been a few weeks. He's from San Jose as well. He lives here in Tennessee. He runs a online radio show called the Asylum Radio Network.
Oh, nice.
And he was talking about remember seeing Green Day, you know, when he was in middle school, play San Jose and whatnot. Like it was right before Dookie was dropped. And then he was talking about Metallica, and he was like, "Man, I can't hate." You know, I said he goes, "No matter what genre of music you were raised on in the Bay Area, Metallica had to have been an influence on you in some way or some form." You know, and
oh yeah,
we both shared our love for the Saint Anger record, so.
You know. I love that video where it's got the drummer. He's got a drum set, and he's got a keg and an aluminum baseball bat. Just clang, clang.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
Funny ass story. I think I was in 7th grade, right? And Dookie had dropped, and Green Day became the biggest band on the planet for ever. But
yeah, forever. They're still.
And they were doing their first major headlining national tour through their like hometown, right? And their direct support, I can't remember who it was, but it was like the Dwarves or
Pansy Division.
Pansy Division.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got all these like 5th, 6th, 7th high school kids there with their parents because they heard fucking When I Come Around on the radio, and they're like, this band's gonna be awesome. And then Pansy Division is up there like jerking off on stage and shit. And all the parents are like, what the fuck is this? It was like, that's punk rock, baby.
Well, it's like, you know, parents taking their kids to go see Fall Out Boy, and Fall Out Boy has that song Sugar.
Yeah.
And it's about jerking off on tour. And their kids and their parents are just, because I'd seen this young local band here in town open up for us once, and the parents were there, and they're obviously my age because their kids were like, you know, 15 and 14, but they're playing that cover of Fall Out Boy, and the kids are just singing it, and the parents are just like, yeah. And I'm like, songs about jerking off on tour, right? But hey, you know, support.
Hey, you know, we back in the 90s, we were singing songs about doing fucking crystal meth at the top of our lungs, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, fucking Journey had songs about doing drugs, and you know, but look, think about but then in the 80s, every lyric that they were talking about was getting drunk and underage girls, you know,
laid. Oh fuck, dude! Like watching, what's his face? Fucking the drummer from Motley Crue, Tommy Lee. Watching Vince Neil throw a whole bottle of Jack Daniels at Tommy Lee,
and he just
during a drum solo, and him just taking it and just water coolering the whole thing, still playing drums. I'm like, dude, that is an excessive amount of cocaine to allow you to do that.
But then Nikki Sixx would see him doing it, and then he would have to do it on top of that. And I'm just like, fuck, Jack. But see,
dude,
when I was a kid growing
no.
up, because I went through the big '80s hair metal phase. After I got introduced into metal, and I always thought, man, I always wanted to be Nikki Sixx, man. That's why I always wanted to be a bass player. It took me till I was almost 30 to be one, but I always thought, man, Tommy Lee Nikki Sixx was the coolest dude ever, man. I even tried to pierce my nipple like him when I was young. With an ice cube in the mirror, and I'm sitting there. Yeah. I got no pun intended. I just got the tip in, and I stopped. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. No, I got lucky around the time I moved to Boise right after high school, and I made friends with this small group, and one of the guys was a comic book artist.
Okay.
He was inking comic books and just some of the coolest art you've ever seen in your life. And one day he comes running in and he's like, dude, I just got offered a apprenticeship at a tattoo shop. I'm like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I need a practice dummy. And I'm like,
yeah, right.
So me and him have been best friends for like over 20 years, and he just I'm slowing down now, but like, every once in a while I go in, sit down, and we talk shit. And he's here in San Jose with me now too. So
is
lucky.
Is that who drew that recent?
Yeah. The I actually have it on my phone as like a screenshot now, but
the Molotov cocktail.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it.
Yeah,
so much.
That's pretty dope. I like it, man. I like that. I saw that. I guess today did I see that?
Yeah. He sent it to me last night. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty cool. I've been chatting with this guy from Disruptor, a podcast called The Disruptor, and he's a retired gang task force agent and all this stuff. But he was also in the military. When he was in the military, he was stationed here in Clarksville, where I was, and I met him through this podcast. And we're going to do an episode here soon. But we were talking about being at the same show in Nashville in the 90s, where I was like, yeah, man, I went and saw Descendants and Suicide Machine. He's like, what? Fuck you, dude. I was there. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, man, I remember seeing you there. But yeah.
Dude, Suicide Machines those dudes are amazing.
They're still going hard. I think it's only him, the singer is the only original member, I think. But he has some punk rock band, but then he also had a fucking hardcore band that was real fucking popular. I can't remember the name of them, but yeah, dude's a beast. Dan, I think his name is, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it was really wild when I learned, because I love their drummer, dude. He was like one of the best ska drummers ever, and then he left Suicide Machines to play for Alkaline Trio, and I was like,
oh, bitchin'.
Yeah, I'm like, how is this gonna sound? And it was awesome. So that was the Good Morning album, I think, and then everything after that. Yeah, I love Skiba. Skiba's such a vibe.
Everything that fucking man does is just fucking epic, dude. I like the guy.
It's like, how do you, man, like, yeah, his vocal melodies and stuff, they're just so good. So good.
Here's the question. Go ahead.
What's that?
No,
I was just gonna say, he doesn't. Blink 182 with Skiba That's
where I was going.
Yeah, him and Mark's voice just sound too similar. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the beauty of Blink, was like that calm, like super nasally to balance out Mark's. Like, yeah, exactly. Like you needed that push and pull, right? Whereas like Mark and Skiba, they just sounded very similar. They wrote killer songs,
dude. I think that those records that they did with Skiba, I felt were great records. Obviously, they got nominated for the first time in their career on that California album. But I enjoyed the stuff. But I can definitely just see what you were saying with the whole Mark and him sounding similar. It was cool. What was it, 2 weeks ago during the California fires when they went up? I was like, holy fuck! And then to see fucking Tom getting so into it, I was like, that was cool, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think Tom just needed to chill for a bit, and we get burned out on shit, even shit that we love. You know,
Uh-huh.
you just got to step back every once in a while, right? He did his little Angels and Airwaves thing, which was cool. And then, you know, he just you could just tell that he wasn't feeling it, and now he's back. And uh the first, what did they so they
Edging
released that,
first.
yeah, they released that first album, and then
Uh-huh.
they released the B-sides or whatever. The B-sides are cool, but that first album's got some bangers.
Yeah, yeah. It
Like,
took me a couple of listens to actually get into it, because like the first run through, I was just like, wasn't what I was expecting. I was like, but you know what?
yeah,
I got to go back. This is the first time that Blink has been together in 10
yeah,
years. Let's give it another
right.
shot. But yeah, it's good.
I think the production is a little over the top. I think
Trav, yeah.
Travis is such a hip hop head that he wanted so much like bass and low end in it that it's cool. I mean,
That song he
it's
sung on was good.
yeah, yeah, it is. You know, Anthem 3 was sick. That came out, and like right at the bridge where it like cuts, and then all of a sudden it just comes in with that like epic vocal. Oh, hits me every time.
Yeah, I mean, did they record all this at Travis's, or a good majority
I
of it?
think
I'm sure.
I think so. Yeah, but
Yeah, he
and their music video like nod to the Ramones. That was pretty
Oh, that
sick.
was really cool. Because
Yeah.
like I had seen like Travis posting these pictures up of them like that. I was like, and then it was for that video.
Yeah.
I I liked the Neighborhood album. I went back and listened to Neighborhood the other day,
Mhm.
and I'm like, man, this was such a great record. I really, really slept on this album. Like
Yeah.
it's moved up several notches on my Blink list. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty sick. And that single they dropped was like Dogs Eating Dogs. That was a pretty
that
cool
was good
stick.
too.
Yeah.
That was I think that was their last one before, because that came out after Neighborhoods, I believe, and then they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
took they
Yeah.
did whatever.
I mean, musicians, we're fickle creatures. We
Hmm.
we listen to something and we go, "Oh, I want to write something like that." But it doesn't fit into your band sound,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then you got to either start a side project or try to shove it into your band's sound somehow. I mean,
Well, that's
music is wild.
well to me the boxcar stuff was great. I love that album so
Hmm.
much. But
Yeah.
it's funny because you had Tom and Trav, and then
Right.
in plus 44 you had Mark and
Right.
Trav. It's just
Yeah.
like
My the funniest shit on the Boxcar album is that song. I think it's Elevators, and it's like Boxcar Racer featuring Mark Hoppus.
yeah, 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 yeah. I saw that.
And it's
That's
just fucking
yeah.
Blink 182. Like, what the?
Yep, yep. No, that's some good
So,
stuff.
but
Um,
yeah, man.
I know we already mentioned this. Well, you mentioned you have your little playlist. But what's one of your favorite bands?
What's one of your favorite like breaths that you take every day?
Yeah.
Um, fuck, dude. Right now, you know what I'm listening to a lot right now
There we
because
go.
the
Yeah.
world sucks is Spanish love songs.
Okay.
Those guys, I don't know why. Like, maybe I'm in my emo phase again. I gotta get my things, but those guys just write songs that are just so emotional. I'm listening to a lot of those guys. I'm listening to a lot of the Lawrence Arms again.
Oh, nice. Good, good, good.
Yeah, those guys put out some cool shit. Um,
I myself
yeah,
went.
I don't
I
know,
went.
man.
I always, no matter every year, there's there's two bands that I will go all year to listen to, and that is always No Effects,
Yeah,
and it's always MXPX. Those two bands will
nice.
always get plays, and then Pennywise is right underneath it. But those
Yeah.
three bands are the like, as far as like keeping it old school for me. Like as long as I got Pennywise, MXPX, or No Effects going,
Yeah.
I'm pretty good.
Oh yeah, those guys are on just constant rotation. I
Oh
was just
yeah.
trying to like, what is
No,
what
no,
are the
no, for
things that
sure.
stand out? What's the hit of the summer already is the new re-release of Wake the Dead by Comeback Kid.
Okay, that it's crazy because like you've heard him do that song so many years live, but then
Yeah,
actually hear him do the vocals like recorded. I'm like,
yeah,
I get behind it. That's pretty
yeah,
good, man.
yeah. Their stuff's super cool. I've been listening to Co-Defendants is pretty sick.
Bro, that album is so fun.
Yeah, the Swellers. Last Ditch Effort. I'm just kidding.
Never heard of them.
Oh, really? Yeah. But yeah, no, the Lawrence Arms. So sick.
You said co-defendants. The dude that I'm gonna be interviewing next week, he's in a band called Empired. Have you heard of them?
Oh,
out
nice.
of LA. They're out of LA. But he was on a podcast last week where he was like the co-host, and they interviewed co-defendants on there. So that was kind of cool. That interview was just fucking everywhere because you know how it gets when But yeah, it's I really enjoy that band.
You know who I've been listening to a lot is the Chats. I love those fucking Australian bands right now. Those like they're so fucking crazy. They just like get up on stage, drink a few beers, and just play 3-chord punk rock. And it's with an Australian accent. It's just like so good.
What do you think about Mel and the Sniffers?
They're pretty good. It's an interesting thing for us old school like punk rockers when a band gets hyped and like by crowds that don't normally listen to that kind of music. Mm-hmm. And we have to kind of step back with our cognitive dissonance and be like, why? Like, are we allowing these outsiders to listen to our music? Like, but no, it's always dope when a band, breaks out and gets big. We try not to be gatekeepers as much as possible, but
yeah, when I was
every once in a while you're like, that's my band. You're not allowed to listen to that band. What the fuck is it doing on Madden 2025? Right? Like,
I found this other band out there that are kind of like Mel and the Sniffers, but they're just called the Soap Girls. Okay. And they're from Africa. They're these two blonde sisters. And they sound that's what they sound like to me to her, but they kind of dress like the Wendy Williams. Was it Wendy Williams? Wendy from the 80s, that chick, the crazy punk chick from back then.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, they dress like her with barely nothing on. They're fucking wearing bare panties, little fucking tassels, but their music's fucking great. And but no, I was the same way when Green Day hit. I was like, you ain't listening to this. This is my band.
This is my band.
Can't listen to it. Yeah. Dookie is mine.
Yeah. It's hard though because it's like, right, like fucking Knocked Loose got to play Coachella and
dude,
like
Jimmy Kimmel.
That's sick, right? Like more people need to hear. Oh my god, the fucking the comment section from all like the Jimmy Kimmel fans.
Oh, dude, that was great.
There was screaming, and the screaming was so loud.
I don't understand why he actually gave them their apology. I'm like, that's what new like Conan O'Brien and Conan O'Brien and the who was the other guy? The comedy show. He was that political comedy show on Comedy Central. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart. Yeah. Jon Stewart used to have a show where that's where he would play like all the punk rock hardcore bands back in the day, But but no, that was good stuff though.
It's better. It's better for the scene to have more people listen to it. I mean, look at like Turnstile, right? Like those guys blew the fuck up. Like everybody's like, like the old heads that listened to them before, Mystery. They're like, oh, it's not Turnstile anymore. It's like, yeah, but you can still hear the band in there, right? Like
you can't hate on a band for doing what they want to do. It's if the music they want to play, it's just like Fat Mike said it best about Green Day and all those bands. He's like, their music, they didn't sell out. Their music just got popular,
Yeah, right. Like you listen to Kurt Plunk and you listen to all the Green Day demos. They sound the exact same as Dookie, right? Oh. Just people heard it and they're like, "This is really good," right? So
I mean, yeah, they got a little extra dollars in their pocket, but man, they're still punk rock. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, they're out there. Fuck Elon Musk. Fuck Donald Trump. I had a guy comment on one of my comments today on fucking the internet. They're like, Green Day are like, they're for the fascists. They're for big government. And I'm like, bro, how do you even respond to this shit?
Yeah.
Like, people are so crazy.
I got to see them last summer. I saw them, Smashing Pumpkins and Rancid, and
Ooh,
it was that tour. What is it? They did American Idiot in its entirety, and they did Dookie in its
sick.
entirety. It was a great
Ah,
show. It took me back, man, because when they opened up with saw the newest single, and then right after that went right into Dookie. And man, when Dookie came on, man, I felt like I was fucking back at 18 years old
yeah,
again, fucking
yeah.
just geeking out, singing every
Uh,
fucking song. I didn't give a fuck who's around,
dude, right?
you
And you
know.
listen, like you read the lyrics on that album, and they got a song about being trans. They got a song
Hmm.
about fucking
Oh yeah,
jerking
man.
off. They got a song about like mental health, and you're like, yeah, they
Yep.
fucking get it. Like they're catchy, but the songs are about
Yeah.
hardcore shit, right?
I mean, yeah,
So
people always that's what they always say. Like, they change about what they write about. And like they've always been writing about this kind of shit.
yeah,
It's always been there.
yeah,
It's just how you interpret it. I guess.
right,
Interpret it the song. What do they say?
yeah.
Once you release a song into the world, it's no longer your song.
Yeah, it's no
Yeah,
longer yours, that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Like, yeah.
But
Um, have you been to any concerts lately?
um nothing too much. I mean, me and my wife are both teachers, so weekdays are kind of crushed. We try to hit up Shoreline a few times a year, whatever's playing at Shoreline. I
Yeah.
think the last thing we went to was some like reggae roots fest thing that was at Shoreline. It was pretty cool. Like
Oh yeah.
I respect reggae. I respect the roots of the genre. There's some cool shit out there. I man, I feel like every time a band I want to see comes through, it's like a Tuesday night, and it's just like,
Yep. Yeah.
fuck.
I mean,
So
you got responsibilities in the morning.
I know, fuck, dude.
You got to
Just
say
want
those call out days.
to, right? My other guitar player Sean, he's flying back today. They just went out and saw, fuck, who was it? Somebody in the Messengers was playing, and those dudes are super
Those are
cool. I
great.
started
Yeah.
to them. But yeah, like I got really into Wonder Years.
Oh,
I'm
nice. Yeah, good
not really
stuff.
into Wonder Years, but like one of their influences they kept listing was the Messengers, so I checked them out, and they're super good too. But
Do you like
yeah,
coming from that area? What about set your goals?
oh, say your goals, man.
I
Hell
saw
yeah,
them. I saw the footage from a couple weeks ago when they played like 3 nights in a row in the Bay,
yeah,
and it's like it's still the same energy up there, same
yeah.
crowd participation. They're such a fun band.
Dude, I saw them with 4 Years Strong at Slim's in
Oh
San
wow,
Francisco, and the whole crowd was just one big crowd surf. Like
hell yeah!
it was just so sick.
I've been to
That
Slim
was
Jim.
actually, I think the Giants were playing in the World Series, or they had just won, like they won the NLCS that night or something
Uh
like that, and the crowd just fucking lost their shit. It
huh.
was so good.
That's one
But
thing though, man. That's what I've always wanted to be in the Bay during an epic era like that, when like the
mhm,
World Series or like playoffs or anything.
yeah.
But
It
um,
was wild. Yeah. 10, 12, and 14, man. There was nothing like it in the Bay.
no,
Timmy and
Brian
fucking
Wilson,
Brian Wilson, man. That
man.
that dude. But Lincecum. I
Yep,
mean, it was just a cast of
that whole team
rejects.
was
Yeah.
And guess what they did? They picked up and fucking won the
They
goddamn
did it.
World
Dude, 14
Series.
was so epic though. Like it's raining and they give the nod to Bumgardner.
Uh huh.
Bumgardner had just pitched like 1 or 2 nights prior, so he couldn't start, but he was available to come out of the bullpen
Yeah,
as a closer. And he starts walking to the mound, and the whole stadium is just
loses it. Yeah,
losing their shit. And he goes and he's just like, just K's 3 dudes and like
yeah,
wins the World Series. It was like these like real life Rudy moments, right?
yeah.
It's so sick. But
I've only been to one game there. I went to go visit my family years back, and we went to a A's Giants game there, and that was fun. Because those
yeah.
games are always always fun to go to.
They
Um,
used to be.
yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Quitters.
Yeah, right. Fuck the
Yeah.
what the I don't even remember the dude's fucking name. The
Um,
owner. What a bitch.
I
Sorry, I'm talking about a billionaire, right?
Yeah. Hey, it's crazy because like all the money that was coming in with the Raiders and the A's and the
Yeah,
Warriors into Oakland, and now it's like the Warriors came back to the Bay.
yeah,
Raiders left, A's are
yeah.
leaving. It's like, man.
Oakland gets a bad rap, man, but there are some neighborhoods in Oakland that are full of the dopest people ever.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I went to school in another life with some people that lived out there. They brought me in. They
yeah,
fucking fed me, gave me like all this shit. It was so good. Yeah. We stand with each other for sure. I mean,
yeah, man.
everybody's got their shit. Everybody deals with their adversity, but
Our past makes our future, man.
that's right, for
So,
sure.
um, well, talk to me some more about your band here. Like, you got this new EP that just came out, like what,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago or last week?
Last
Last
week,
week,
yeah, last
yeah.
Friday. Yeah. 2025. We're just trying to, ride this wave of hype right now. It's really cool. People are digging the sound. People really like feeling it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's this really weird uneasiness in America. Like even if you don't follow politics, you kind of feel like something's wrong. And I got the first song on the album is 2025. It's about Project 2025, and it really harkens back to 1930s Germany when people are just being hunted down for who they are, and the anti-trans bullshit that's going on in this country right now, the anti-immigrant bullshit. It's just it's disgusting. People that
Yeah.
study history, they say, if you study history, you're bound to repeat it, or if you don't study history, you're bound to repeat it. If you do study history, you got to watch as other people repeat it. Second track, No Future. I wrote about this like interdependence of the billionaire class and environmental degradation, and how there's no future, there's no shelter, and there's no savior, right? We got to do it ourselves if we're gonna do it, and we got to do it, right? And then Short Fuse. It's a song about living with, living under, living as the abused partner in a narcissistic relationship with an abuser that keeps telling you everything's your fault, and they're only doing it because you're making them do it. The big kind of catchphrase there is the dynamite burns at both ends, right? And then Hold On. It's like I said, the song that's near and dear to me, kind of just a memory. Hold on to memories, hold on to voices that are lost, right? People come and go out of your life, and the good ones and the people that meant a lot to you. You need to remember
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And yeah, I got a lot of like you know mom tattoos and grandma tattoos and all kinds of shit. So yeah, it's a cool track. I mean, it's a cool album. Punk songs, they're 3 minutes long, couple chords. I hope
Yeah.
everybody's liking it. I've gotten some really cool feedback from people that it spoke to them in some way. So that's
That's good.
being this is the first band I've ever played guitar in, the first band I've ever sang in. So having people be like, your message is really cool and we really like what you're saying, it's pretty surreal for me, for sure. So
Yeah, I went and listened to everything that you guys had up on the Spotify, and everything that you guys have is pretty rocking, man. I enjoyed it.
thanks, man.
Glad
Yeah.
you did. Now, do you guys play a lot of the old stuff too, or do you guys have like
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah. We,
What's the one
ever
song that you guys play that like everybody wants to hear from you guys? Like, what's that crowd favorite?
um, on the Inside starts pretty cool. That's a song I wrote about like the prison industrial complex and how it's basically just legalized slavery, and it starts out super rockin', and it really starts pumping the crowd up. We've gotten a lot of really cool feedback from playing one of our more newer ones, It's Our World.
Okay.
Kind of a chanty, a lot of like comeback kid gang vocals in that one.
Hell yeah.
um that one's just about, keep fighting. Just don't ever let the assholes win. And up until recently, we had done a pretty sweet punk rock cover of Zombie by the Cranberries. And that was a
Okay.
crowd favorite. People were always, every time we played
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
it was pretty cool. So we had to retire it though. Like you play a cover enough times and it's like, all right, we got to come up with something else. So
Yeah. We used to get that because we used to do a Hatebreed cover, and at the
oh,
it
nice.
just it just became where everybody was like they wanted to hear it, and then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you mean that band that does that that does
Yeah.
that Hatebreed cover? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what you become. Like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
we did
Um,
we did a whole Hatebreed cover set for a benefit. That was pretty fun.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played drums for an easy core band and we covered Bring Out Your Dead by Comeback Kid.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
dude, the crowd always goes fucking ape shit for that song. Like
It's Comeback
it's
Kid.
so good. Yeah. But no, we're just having fun. I
Hell
mean,
yeah, man.
we're all old as fuck. I'm a teacher. My bass player is a soccer coach. My guitar player is a lawyer, and my drummer is a IT pro. And you know, it's just something like we want to make a dent. We want to make a message while still having to live through the capitalist nightmare
Yeah.
that is the world today. So
Do you guys all
um,
live in the same area?
yeah, we're all pretty local to San Jose area.
Yeah.
I mean, San Jose is so big.
Now, yeah.
So, but
Oh,
we just jam here in my garage. I've got like
yeah.
the kind of like demo setup. It's really cool. We jam on like electronic drums and the amps so we can turn things down so the neighbors don't
Yeah.
get too pissed. Because there's nothing worse than pissing off a neighbor and like having to deal with the cops every time. And this is
Yeah.
free, so free is always better.
Yeah.
But then I can also turn around and plug everything in and we can just demo shit out. So we can listen to it a bunch of times before we go into the actual studio. And Ryan at District Recording is always very happy with us because we only need like a couple takes as opposed to bands that go in and they're like, what was that part we played back then,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, right? So
That is the biggest thing. One, it saves you money and
yeah,
time because, like, we would hammer out shit so much at fucking practice, and and then when we get to the studio, it's just hopefully goes smooth.
yeah, but we love it. I mean,
Yeah.
every one of the members of the band have been in bands their whole life, and everybody's on board. I always run my lyrics by. I'm like, so here I'm going to say, I want to hang this guy from his feet. Are you guys okay with that? And so far, they're all like super cool with everything. So
Now, if they wanted you to change it, would you change it?
no,
Yeah.
I'd just be like, you just gotta get cool with it. Sorry.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool, man. No, yeah, like I said, I'm glad I was introduced to you guys. I
Yeah,
I
that's really
really
cool,
enjoy it,
man.
man.
We do appreciate like anybody that wants to chat about music or anything that
Hmm.
we're into, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your days to do this shit. So
Oh man, I'm just about to sit down here in about 30 minutes and start watching the Elimination Chamber for
nah,
some wrestling.
nice,
So that's
nice.
I
Dude, I see. As soon as they turned it from the WWF, I gave up on it.
yeah. There's a lot of people
I
from
was
the
like,
Bay. A lot of people in the Bay are repping in WWE right now.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. I
So
mean,
San Jose.
I'm not. Eh, I was a Hulkamaniac, man. The
Yeah.
23-inch pythons and the the Ultimate Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter. Like that was my wrestling back
It's
then.
it's
So
crazy to realize that when as a kid growing up, you don't know these things, and I'm like, you actually thought that Sergeant Slaughter was actually in the Marine Corps, and
right,
and then
yeah,
and then like Yokozuna, you thought he was actually
yeah,
Japanese, and he's not.
yeah.
He's Samoan
Oh yeah,
from the Bay Area.
dude.
So,
That was so. They had some fucking characters, man. Ted
oh yeah,
DiBiase, right? Heartbreak Kid, man. Like back then, it was like I don't know wrestling today. I don't want to
yeah,
like sound like I'm hating on it
no,
because I'm not. But it was high drama back in the day, right? Like the Undertaker. The Undertaker was like the most feared dude in the whole
Yep.
fucking thing.
The one guy that never broke character.
Right? He had that choke slam.
Yep. He rolled his eyes behind his head. But now wrestling's so huge now. It's more pop culture than anything.
Yeah.
It's insane. But enough of that.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm glad I had to double check your info and the guy that I'm doing from Empire on Tuesday because he's a wrestler, I guess.
Oh,
So
nice.
I almost brought. I was like, oh wait, let me get my notes right here. And I don't really have notes. I just have like things that maybe I'll break about.
You're
I don't
gonna
like
see me in the ring next week, DiBiase.
That's your guys' next promo for your next show.
Yeah, right.
Listen up, brother.
Yeah.
Anywho,
I heard you've been talking shit about my wife.
Well, in the South, that goes, I guess. It's all right.
Dude,
No.
I love watching those old '80s coked out Macho Man interviews.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, and the beat goes on.
Yeah. And to think he was a baseball player for the Reds.
Oh shit.
Beforehand, he was actually a baseball player, and then he got injured, and then he became a wrestler. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I don't want to keep you anymore.
No, you're good, brother. I will air this soon.
Awesome.
Let me actually. Where can everybody find you?
All right, we are Bandcamp, Spotify. We're working on a website right now. But yeah, just the normal places: Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Last Ditch Effort, SJ on Instagram. I do a lot. I do most of our conversing through Instagram for now.
Hey,
we'll
that's
see
all
what
I
happens.
That's all I ever use.
Yeah. So yeah, hit us up. Tell us what you think of the album. Tell us that you want us to come play a show near you, and we'll make it work.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jesse, I appreciate your time, my friend. Till next time.
All right, homie. Take it easy.